Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back for another video. As you can see, I am not quite entirely set up. I was hoping that my gray wall behind me would function as a green screen, but OBS is rejecting it, and whatever, I'll get my green screen set up and I'll be rolling in here in a little bit. And I have something planned in the works that's going to involve many, many videos to the point where, instead of getting tired of me not making videos, you're going to get tired of me making so many videos. But I think it's going to be helpful. It's just a spoiler alert. It's going to involve examining many different cryptocurrencies and seeing whether they are worth buying at this point in time before the next bull run, whenever that may be. And that's going to lead me in an entirely different direction because I am weighing a lot between lengthening cycles versus shortening cycles. That is a myth. That's not a thing. That was a big distraction the last bull run, and we need to re-examine that. I'll probably make a separate video about that. But anyway, if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment in the comment section, and smash up that like button. But hey, here's what I want to take a look at. I want to take a look at Bitcoin, and I want to take a look at mostly just where are we? Are we at the bottom of the bear market? And where do we go from here? And in particular, I want to share some thoughts as to what's coming over the next several weeks. FYI, just so you know, it's not awful. It's not great, so we just got to get through this. But here's the first thing that I'm looking at here is this chart showing minor capitulation. And so at the end of this, what drove the price down to $20,000, $17,000 last weekend was miners. They were selling a great deal of their crypto. And you got to think about it like this: smaller and maybe some medium-sized miners, they were at a point where they were no longer breaking even. Their electricity costs, their costs of replacing supplies, all that, everything included in that, they were at a point where they were no longer breaking even. And so they had to sell more Bitcoin than perhaps they were comfortable selling, and they quote unquote capitulated. This marked the bottom of the 2018 bear market. The same thing happened. And, good news, they're accumulating again, which I would see as a valid reason to think that perhaps that $17,500 point last weekend was the bottom. We could certainly go lower, but this is a compelling argument to make that perhaps that was the bottom, because the same thing happened in 2018. In 2018, Bitcoin was hanging around $6,000 for forever, and then there was this huge dump, and that was the miners finally capitulating, and that marked the bear market bottom. That would have been a great time to have bought, and then Bitcoin over the next 7 months almost at a 5x. And so I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen this time around in that regard, but there are similar patterns here. That's 2018. Let me get this out of the way. Here we are right now, and we're seeing the bull market support band just take go further down, and that's a good thing, because eventually we are going to get within the bull market support band, and eventually we're going to rise above it. But this is the same thing that happened in 2018. Here we are, week one, hanging around $6,000. That was just this insane level of support, and then we dumped we dumped through that and went all the way down to, over a period of 5 weeks, 5 miserable weeks after months of misery, 5 miserable weeks down to $3,000. And you better believe there were people calling for $1,800 Bitcoin, for $1,200 Bitcoin at that time. It just never came. But then look at this. This is a weekly chart. We had something like 15 weeks in this dead zone until the bull market support band made its way down, and we entered into the middle of the bull market support band, and then boom, we were off to the races. We rose above it. And so I think here is my expectation. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, especially if we get a favorable CPI report next week, or excuse me, not next week, next couple weeks. If we get a favorable CPI, we'll see. And if we get an unfavorable CPI report, I mean, look out below. So this could certainly not work itself out. But let's just say that we have that 8.6% for CPI was the peak, and maybe we're slowly but surely making our way back down to quote unquote normal levels. I mean, CPI is a joke anyway. I would expect something similar to what we're seeing here. A long drag out. I mean, let me count the weeks here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then we're in the middle of the bull market support band. And then finally, week 16, we break through. I mean, in the bull market support band, it's down to under $4,000. And so I would say right now, we are at about, let's see, we might actually have a green week this week. I would say, remember this marking point right here, this particular week, June 20th, the week of June 20th. I would say we're right about here or maybe here. Okay. So we still have another 15 or so weeks, in my opinion, of just kind of trying to make our way out. You can see the volume was very low in comparison to before. Volume was very low, and then that was a pretty low volume move all the way up to $14,000 for Bitcoin, but about 15 weeks. And in my opinion, yeah, I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see some low volume moves here. We're just going to kind of range for a little bit and slowly climb, maybe work our way up to the mid to upper 20s. And then the bull market support band, which the bottom of that is currently around $33,000, is going to get down to that level of what, $25,000. Will be in the middle of the bull market support band, and then we'll jump higher. No, I mean, it may not be 13 weeks. That would put us at the end of September, but I would expect something similar to happen where we're just kind of ranging. And, we could have some wicks lower for sure, but I would say, honestly, given the fact that miners capitulated, I would say I'm 50-50 that 17,000, et cetera, was the bottom. Awful CPI report next month. All bets are off the table. But I'm 50-50, and that makes me a lot more bullish than a lot of other people. I think a large majority of people are expecting something like 12,000, 10,000. I've heard 4-digit Bitcoin, and, we'll see. We'll see. More buying opportunities, I suppose. But that's my thought. 13 weeks, 15 weeks, something like that, of maybe a slow climb of some good weeks, some bad weeks, and then the bull market support band goes down to the mid to lower $20,000 range, and then we're in, and then, we're off. So we'll see with that. Something that has me actually very hopeful that the next CPI report is going to be lower than expected. I just want to give all credit to this account, Game of Trades. He has a pretty big YouTube channel, not as big on Twitter, but I love his Twitter account because he just posts data. He posts data. He talks about inflation has never lasted more than 24 months. From trough to peak change, we've currently arrived at that magic number. There we are. And he talks about a lot about oil being a major player when it comes to CPI. And if you've been paying attention to oil prices, oil has peaked. Now, that doesn't mean gas prices are going to peak, but oil itself has peaked. I really do believe that. And it's going down pretty hard right now. And the reason why you're not really seeing gas prices go down all that much is just it's summer, and so there's a lot more demand. But come fall, gas prices will go down further. And so he talks a lot about oil. He says, here we go. Oil is by far the biggest driver of CPI. And oil is coming down, which means, over the next few months, I expect CPI. I do expect that 8.6 was the peak, and CPI is going to go down. And so we don't have to worry nearly as much about the Federal Reserve, getting more aggressive with raising rates. I think 0.75, 75 basis points or 50 basis points, that can be our expectation. And then at some point, they're just going to stop raising rates. Excuse me. And, interest rates are going to be flat. And then they're going to turn dovish. I don't know when in particular, whether that's late 2022 or early 2023, but that's going to happen. And that's going to cause the DXY to come down. That's going to cause, in my opinion, some opportunities for prices to go higher in crypto and in the stock markets. Maybe a new all-time high with Bitcoin at some point, end of 2022, 2023. We'll see just how far things go. But I made I've been making videos on my TikTok account. I hope you check that out. I've been really in on this, that the DXY has to come down. And, oh man, we're not anywhere near there. So DXY, well, here we are. DXY peaked in March of 2020, COVID crash. And then it went all the way down and you know, it bottomed out, double bottom, but let's say bottomed out around here, May 24th, mid-May. So bottomed out around the time that Bitcoin peaked at $64,900. That was about a 20x. And the 2017 bull run was fueled by similar conditions where the DXY peaked and then, you know, went down and bottomed out. And the DXY bottomed out at the peak of alt season in January of 2018. And then it started running up again. And here we are today. Let me get here. We are at a 20-year high. Last week, at least, we were at a 20-year high in the DXY. If we have a similar movement back down to what, you know, the lower 90s or upper 80s, that is going to be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. Will that happen? I'm not sure, but you know, DXY has its own bull market support band, and we see a move below the bull market support band. We see signs that people are willing to go risk on. It is inevitable that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, some other ones, I would stick with top 20 or so, and stocks for sure, those are going to rise. And how far are they going to rise is the question in my mind. I don't know. But if we were to see, you know, DXY go back down to the upper 80s, then I would expect a new all-time high for Bitcoin. That's just a sign that people are exiting the dollar and willing to go risk on. And why would they not exit the dollar? The dollar is worth 8.6% less than it was a year ago at this time. So they're holding it there, but they don't want to keep it there because they know, you know, especially stretch it out 5 years, 10 years, that dollar is going to be worth so much less than it is now. And so, no, they're not going to keep it there. They're waiting for an opportunity to put it into something that is going to increase in terms of dollars, stocks, cryptos, etc. And so we got to wait and see. Next CPI report is going to be huge. And that's really the name of the game right now. But stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, again, smash up that like button. Stay tuned for the next video. I'm going to talk about my plans for examining many, many different cryptocurrencies and whether I think that those will be a buy in the bear market. And I want to differentiate that between the bear market buying guide. In my bear market buying guide, you can see a link of that in the description of this video. I talk specifically about the time to buy, when to buy specific cryptos. And that's all over the map. But in this series of videos, I'm going to talk about whether or not this is worth buying because a lot of cryptos are going to go to zero. And so there's probably going to be a lot more no's than yeses, but it's just my judgment. But yeah, stay tuned for that. But I am excited to get back in the swing of things, and I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will most certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.